Hello and welcome to our analysis of iCAT18, the 18th mock in our 25 test mock test series for CAT on an all India basis. So now as you're moving closer to the 75-80% marks in terms of the number of mocks that you're taking, your strategy in terms of strengths, weaknesses, questions to attempt, not attempt, etc. needs to be firmer mock by mock. You need to be very clear of what you are going to try in the exam. Also, you will see certain sections will start getting more difficult to equip you to handle tougher challenges in the exam. iCAT 18 has been partially designed with that view in mind. Compared to iCAT 16 and 17, which were much closer to the actual exam, iCAT 18 was slightly tougher than that. It was classified as a moderate to tough mock with an average LOD of 2.02, that's an LOD of slightly greater than 2. Now what we do is that there is a level of difficulty of 1, 2 and 3 assigned to questions ranging from easy to moderate to tough to help us classify them. So each question, section and mock has an average LOD. As we said, here the LOD was slightly greater than 2. Let's look at the verbal section first. Verbal ability had an LOD of 2.06, so actually the LOD of the paper shot up really due to verbal. Typically in the exam you will see the LOD at 1.9. So here we saw that it was nearly 8 to 10% more than what you would have encountered in the actual exam. What this does is directly affect the number of attempts that you could have had. For that we need to see the RC and non-RC part of the verbal section and identify the questions that we need to do. As always, we had 6 RCs, 2 RCs of 6 questions each, 4 RCs of 3 questions each. What was the nature of these RCs? Unlike iCAT 18 where we saw that there was no single easy RC, here there was one easy RC which was hidden in the guise of a poem. So there was a poem given to you but the questions were easier. So this was the easiest RC by far. If you look at the other topics, you had only moderate to tough or purely tough RCs. If you look at the topics which we had put in here, you would find that they were more suited to people from an arts or humanities background, and an engineer might have struggled in this section. What were these topics? You had one on self-identification, so something from sociology, one on arithmetical structures relatively based on statistics, one on empathy in medicine, probably the most easy to read passage in this and should have been attempted, one on Kabir and spirituality, again tough, and one on the nature of being, probably the toughest RC of this lot. So what would I have attempted in this mock, or what should you have done? Probably go for the medicine based RC, which was a 6 question RC, and then try 1 or 2 questions here and there, trying to reach 9 to 10 questions in terms of the overall RCs. 9 to 10 attempts in general would have been a good performance as far as the RCs are concerned. What about the non-RC questions? So we had para jumbles, para summary and odd man out, contextual odd man out as always. Again, like iCAT 18, if you see the breakup here, you would have seen that there were only moderate to tough or moderate or tough questions here. There were hardly 1 or 2 easy questions. But had you selected wisely, you would have found that 2 to 3 very serious attempts were possible from the non-MCQ numerical entry types. As a student, I would have said that 9 to 10 attempts in the RCs and 2 to 3 attempts in the non-RCs would be a decent performance to clear the cutoff as far as this particular mock is concerned. And keep in mind that 12 to 13 attempts might not help you in the actual exam, but you need to calibrate your attempts based on the LOD or the difficulty level of the section in the exam. So had this been your section, then yes, 12 attempts would have genuinely helped you. That would be our take as far as this section is concerned. Let's move on to what is considered to be the toughest section in the exam, which is DILR. Again here, mathematically, yes, it was the toughest at 2.19 or 2.2. But if you look at its average LOD in the actual exam, it's around the same mark. So this was a more or less expected section for a student, whereas verbal was tougher than expected. In DILR, we always tell students to try and attempt anywhere between 16 to 20 questions. So that's 4 to 4.5 to 5 sets, which means that you need to identify the 3 to 4 sets that are definitely doable. Which were those sets in this particular case? So there was one set where you had 11 people sitting in 2 rows, 5 seats and 6 seats for a movie, and all the questions here were conditional. But this was probably one of the easiest sets to do if you made figures or diagrams for the various cases. Once you did that, you had to treat each question as a different set and keep solving it. It would have taken 15 minutes maybe, but it would have given you 4 questions correct definitely. Then there was one set on knights and knaves, again a seating arrangement based set, but this was something you should have solved had you been very comfortable with the idea of a circular arrangement with knights and knaves. So I would have, for some students I would have said must do, for some students I would have said backup. One of the must do sets here was the one on BMI, height and weight in a missing table. This is something which was purely numerical in nature with all the clues given to you, so you had to identify those clues, solve them using equations, inequalities, etc. and arrive at a finalized table. This is something you should have definitely tried, because once you filled in the complete table, you would have got full marks for this set. Similarly, there was one set on 5 sisters, some eeny, meeny, etc. sharing all their chocolates. Looked difficult initially, but had you made just one simple table saying from one sister to the other sister, this would have filled up very quickly. So again, that would have helped you. So these 4 were the sets that I would have really attempted in the exam. Maybe for somebody not very comfortable with knights and knaves, there was one more lengthy set. So I marked it as a lengthy but doable set, where you had 5 friends working in 5 different cities. So it was a classic matrix based set, but very time consuming. But yes, had you not understood the concepts of the various sets, then I would have done this 5 friends in 5 cities set, because again it would have given me full marks. So yes, if I personally were a student, I would have done missing table of BMI, 5 sisters sharing chocolates, 5 friends in 5 cities and people in 2 rows as my mandatory sets, and then in the knights and knaves questions I would have tried 1 or 2 questions. But 18 attempts would be a very good performance as far as this particular section is concerned, depending on whether you selected the right questions. Finally, let's move to the last section of this mock, which is quant. Typically the easiest section in the exam, also the easiest section here. The average difficulty was close to 1.82 or 1.8, which is more or less what you will get in the exam. Marginally lower will be in the exam. So, as expected, people expect anywhere between 10 to 12 easy questions. Here, that trend got maintained. We have identified 11 questions that you should have definitely attempted. This number is much lower compared to the 14-15 that we typically are able to identify, because this particular section was slightly tougher compared to the overall expectation of quant. So which were these questions? A lot of these questions were spread between the question number 70 to question number 85 mark. And then there was one very small set of 2 questions on linear equations. So typically in the exam, you don't have multiple questions on a common data in maths, but this was given as a variety to acclimatize you in case something like this happens in the exam. What were the kind of topics? If I look at arithmetic, algebra, geometry, etc., I can easily see that here the proportion of arithmetic was hardly anything. So arithmetic was just 2 questions which were really doable. So everything else was tougher. Whereas in terms of pure algebra, I can easily see 4 to 5 questions that were doable. So algebra typically is the tougher side. Here algebra was easier. Geometry, couple of questions, modern math, 1 question. So here this paper was characterized by a lot of easy algebra. That is what you should have kept in mind. So don't keep any one easy or one topic as your weak point. In general, I would have attempted 15 questions in this particular section to be sure of clearing the cutoff. If I were to rate this entire paper, I would say that it was definitely significantly tougher in terms of verbal, marginally easier in terms of DILR, and marginally tougher in terms of quant. On the whole, it would balance out in terms of the overall difficulty level while being marginally tougher overall. The number of good attempts here would be close to 45, mainly because of the verbal section where your attempts would go down. So anywhere between 44 to 46 attempts would be a very good performance as far as this mock is concerned. Wish you all the very best. Hope to see you soon when we release the analysis for iCAT18. Please keep taking these mocks and analyzing yourself. Prepare well for CAT. Wish you all the very best. You can subscribe to more videos of this type on our official channel. Thank you and all the best.